introduce Lord Addinton, please.
Ladies and gentlemen, when I first got the sort of connection, it was through a chap called Donald Slosh, and anybody who's in dyslexia for a long time knows about Donald. He's very black, very tall, has glasses that are thicker than the bottom of this glass, and he's terribly enthusiastic. Unfortunately, he's a typical dyslexic, so he's terribly enthusiastic about a lot of things, a lot. But anyway, he said, "Come and speak to this new person, we're trying to arrange something in the house at all tonight." Okay, I'll speak to the new person. And then said, "Oh, and it's about prisons." Now, I had a little bit of experience of prisons. Spontaneously, I think it's just over 21 years ago, just out of university, I'm one of the first people to get through the education system as a dyslexic who dictated all these exams using amanuensis. I'm actually on that little crest of a wave that meant recognised, just about possible, parents who know how to play the system, you get through. That's my little place in history, by accident. So I was one of the first people to get through, certainly I think it was the first person in Scotland to get through a degree structure, totally by dictating. Now, also having to be a hereditary peer, I turned up to the House of Lords because I could. And I was wondering what else I would do, and one of my colleagues said, "Why don't you go and work with something called Apex Trust, which was about getting offenders into employment to break the cycle." Now, I then had another revolutionary moment. I was a young, big guy playing first-class rugby, hot summer's day, especially in the teachers. I'm wearing a t-shirt and going to them. The chap said to me, "Why don't you sit down at a big table like this in the middle?" They formed a power pyramid around me. I think these two guys might have a hint of it here. Because I was the big guy with the muscles, I must have done the most time. I was definitely going to be the thing. Of course, I didn't know anything about armed robbery, so the conversation was a bit short. But suddenly you got, but also through the process of that afternoon, it was the first time in my life that I had the best literacy skills at that table. And I just thought, wait a minute, let's do the maths. 10% of the population is dyslexic, at least 10% of the prison population is dyslexic, and probably a lot higher because of the group you're in and the fact they're educational failures. Most of them are out of school at 14. You want to look at a prison? The main thing about prisons is they're out of school at 14. By 14, they're not at school. That's the revelation. I haven't realised there are people here who can correct me if I'm doing anything wrong here, so I'm a little bit more nervous. Lawyers around the world used to deal with that. People know the subject now. But you went down. So I went through this. And I said this to people, and they went, "Oh, really?" And then over time, "Oh, can we do something about this? It's a bit difficult." And then you keep hearing about, we're finding 50% of the prison population is dyslexic. I thought it would be higher, I didn't think it would be that high. Oh, that must be wrong. 50% again, and again, and again. Then when I get to this project, I get somebody who's gone in and reached. And then, fascinatingly, it changed the game for me overnight, because it wasn't about going to the education department and then sitting down with somebody. It was about people who weren't going to the education department, who were avoiding. Now just think of the cultural shift that's involved. It's other people's problems than the educator. That's what you're doing. Think of that tremendous change, game changer. Now, and the main, I think, lesson I've learned about this isn't just about the educational achievement. It's about the revelation that you are not stupid. That your brain works slightly differently. In certain aspects, you actually have a slight edge. But in our society, they have things like the form that needs filled in. I have people say, "I'm differently able, I'm not dyslexic." Right, fill in your insurance form now. "I'm waiting, time, please, you've had 5 minutes, I can do it in 5 minutes." It's that moment that is the most difficult. And learning to say, or learning to know why and how to cope with that, I think is the most important thing about dyslexia. And now, let's face it, now with new voice over technology, we won't have to write at all. So fingers crossed. But that is where we've got to, and this is what this operation, this approach has done. It has taken it away from a little hole and put it into the reality of people's lives. Now, the fact of the matter is that people who go into prisons or don't go into prisons also have lives outside. and because you don't get caught, or you get lucky, you don't get caught that often, doesn't mean to say you won't have to apply to try and get benefits, a job, fill out the correct doctor's form to get the right treatment, get your own children through the system. That form, online, on paper, is always there. Learning to cope with that, and learning to understand and tell somebody else you're coping with that, is the most important thing. Effectively, Jackie, you have done the most important thing. You have told people that dyslexia does not stop at 16 in GCSE. It does not stop there. And also, by the way, I'm in the middle of a huge 3-year-long row over apprenticeships, because they've actually said, on a form, you must pass a written English test. Now, I'm winning this, but I actually got asked the last time by a civil servant, well, nobody's complained to us. How do you mean complained? Well, we haven't had any emails or letters. I mean, sorry. And I actually got a laugh from the House of Lords last week. So, it is one of these things that you're doing. So, Jackie, you're showing the way forward to deal with the reality in life. And for that, I salute you. And hope that we will be able to carry this on. And believe you me, politicians being politicians, give a good point to make, they'll make it. So make sure they find out.
Brilliant, thank you very much, Lord Addinton. I think the next approach, the next person to speak to really is about how the culture and the environment change within the prison, because that's a key important factor to this project. Well, I think you can probably explain it much better than me. So let me introduce, is it Miss Amy? Is that what
that's how
you call on the wing? Okay, so can I introduce Miss Amey?
I haven't written anything about Jackie because I didn't have enough time because there was just so much. Jackie turned up on a wing on a very busy day when somebody had just self-harmed, we were talking about earlier, and an induction wing is extremely busy. You don't have time to spend with them. They come on, we have them for 3 days and we move them on. And really, you don't make relationships with them. But Jackie came in and thought, oh dear, here we go again, another new thing, gone and forgotten. But we forgot about the tenacity of this woman. She was there, every weekend she came in when she wasn't getting paid, in the week, she was there all the time when she got it. Yeah. So much so that she basically became like one of my officers. We didn't lock her prisoners up when she was with them. She could go and chat, she just wandered about. Even the staff, once she'd spoken to them, because she used to come in our lunchroom as well, so we couldn't get away from her. But what she did was amazing. I know people keep saying, oh Jackie, how can she do all this? But she did. She changed the wing. Terry, I've never known him not self-harm. There's not parts of his body he hasn't. And I've known him most of the 40 times he's come in. But he totally changed. I don't know, I thought she was drugging them at first. But then having these prisoners on the wing and then becoming mentors, they were allowed out of their cells a lot more. That didn't go down too well initially because a lot of them bid in a lot, they meant to have done naughty things and so forth, so we don't trust them in the business. But we learned to do that on Ealing. Even the governors were coming over and saying, what's happening? Oh, it's Jackie, she's worked with them. And then the prisoners themselves, you mustn't forget them because they changed the way that they were because they learned that they weren't useless, they weren't thick, they weren't stupid, they weren't violent. Well, they were violent, but it all is the ethos is they can't read and write in schools. I couldn't believe in this day and age how many children are leaving school without basic skills. And if it's true, then we need to be getting to them before prison. But we still need to be trying to help prisoners as well. Either in or out, but it does change the whole ethos of a very violent wing. Induction, they'll usually come in, they'll kick off because we didn't know, they're just violent. But once we had the mentors out, they were allowed out until we went home. So they worked with these on induction. They spoke to them, they took information, and they'd come and say, Lord, because that's how we got to with these mentors. They were trusted. They were like our second wave of officers in a sense. This chap, he can't read and write, or he's had problems, he's possibly a self-harmer, and that's how we managed to win. And induction, I think the violence and the threats went down fourfold. We had an Asperger's gentleman come in, and he didn't like change, he was very problematic. Colin took him under his wing. But he never had any more problems with him. Colin was his name. And he actually went out and he wrote a letter to the prison thanking for what the mentors had done. So Jackie is the main person, we've shown that prisoners are not forgotten people. We can help them, help themselves and help others, and that's what this is all about. It's prisoners and younger. I know Jackie now wants to go out into the world with our purple bus, and we will, but on a lighter note, Jackie decided to come on holiday with me. Well, I asked her, it must have been one day when I wasn't taking my pills, would you like to come to Australia with me and meet my family? And I think not only did she meet my family, but most of Australia spoke to her. But it was good because she was, you know, I'd leave alone for 2 minutes, go get a drink, and then with loads of people around her. And at one time, a peacock. I don't know where that was. But, you know, she was talking to these people and actually telling them, and not telling them, explaining to them about dyslexia and how there's many ways for people to learn. It's not teach, it's how they learn, and there are different ways that they can go forward. And Jackie was actually, I mean, as I said, she spoke to everybody. My brother said she was particularly vocal because she used to get up early, and so did he. He started staying in bed a bit later. But he meant it in a nice way. He said, and as I said, across the world, Singapore, Hong Kong, I can't remember if there was anywhere else, but she spread the word. And that's Jackie, but not just Jackie, the mentors that put their time in and they make the changes to cope. And I think they've done extremely well. And I am exceptionally proud of Terry, only more so because he hasn't self-harmed in 4 years. And that is, you know, it is down to Jackie, but it's all like a waterfall effect. And we need Jackie out there, all of us, to spread the word and start dealing or helping others to help themselves. Thank you, Jackie.